The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom sparkled with designer labels and society's elite as my sister Rachel prepared to marry New York's most eligible fashion executive. I sat quietly at my assigned table, far from the main party of course, watching the drama I'd orchestrated begin to unfold. "Oh, Sarah's still doing her little sewing thing," I overheard Rachel telling her fashion industry friends, all draped in clothes from her moderately successful boutique label. "In her garage, can you believe it?" I smoothed my simple white dress, actually a one-of-a-kind prototype from my upcoming luxury collection, though without the Sullivan Industries label that would soon dominate the fashion world. "At least she made an effort today," my mother sighed to her society friends, "though she could have worn something from Rachel's line instead of whatever that is. If they only knew that whatever that is had been handcrafted by the same artisans who made gowns for royalty, or that the seemingly simple fabric was a revolutionary textile I'd developed that would transform the industry." "Sarah." Rachel swooped over in her designer gown, champagne in hand. "I saved some of last season's samples for you. You know, for inspiration for your crafts." I checked my phone discreetly, emails from my global manufacturing facilities, updates on the acquisition, final confirmations from the board. "That's thoughtful," I murmured, watching my sister's new husband chat with his executive team. In a few hours they'd all be working for me. "Still making clothes in your garage?" Rachel laughed to her entourage. "God, remember when she thought she'd be a fashion designer?" "How is the garage workshop?" her friend Madison chimed in, adjusting her knockoff Chanel. "Still dreaming big?" I bit back a smile, thinking of my actual workspace. Not the small garage they imagined, but a sprawling design compound in Milan. The simple sewing machine they mocked? Actually a state-of-the-art fabrication facility developing revolutionary production methods. "It's going well," I said quietly, noting the time. The announcement would hit the news any minute. Rachel patted my shoulder condescendingly. "You should come see my new flagship store. Maybe pick up some tips about real fashion." Her assistant burst through the ballroom doors, face pale. "Ms. Watson, Sullivan Industries just bought us. They've acquired the entire company." Rachel's champagne glass shattered on the marble floor. "What? That's impossible. Sullivan Industries is the largest luxury fashion conglomerate in the world." "They wouldn't." "They did." The assistant thrust a tablet forward. "The CEO signed the papers an hour ago. We're now a subsidiary of Sullivan Global." "But..." Rachel grabbed the tablet, her perfectly manicured hands shaking. "The CEO of Sullivan Industries is..." I stood slowly, pulling my CEO badge from my clutch. "Sarah Sullivan. That would be me." The ballroom fell silent as my sister stared at the badge, at the empire-building sister she'd dismissed as a hobby seamstress. "The garage workshop you mocked?" I continued calmly. "A cover for my main design facility. Those craft projects? Prototypes for luxury collections. That simple sewing machine? A $1 million fabrication system developing proprietary textiles." Rachel swayed slightly in her designer gown, now technically owned by her nobody sister. "Your new flagship store?" I smiled slightly. "I own the building. Actually, I own the whole block. Along with most of the luxury retail space in Manhattan. Sometimes the best-kept secrets are hidden behind a needle and thread, wrapped in assumptions people are too quick to make." Mother clutched her pearls. But you work from a garage. A garage that's actually the entrance to a 50,000 square foot design and innovation center." I pulled up the acquisition papers on my phone. "Though I did enjoy watching you all mock my little sewing room, while I built a global fashion empire." Rachel's husband had gone pale, no doubt realizing he now worked for his sister-in-law. The same hobby seamstress, who would soon be signing his paychecks. "The wedding dress you're wearing?" I nodded to Rachel's gown. "Made in my Italian facility. Like most luxury clothing these days. That simple white dress you all pitted me for wearing? A prototype worth more than your entire collection." The assistant's tablet kept pinging with news alerts. Sullivan Industries acquires Watson Boutique in latest expansion. Fashion giant continues global domination. Mysterious CEO Sarah Sullivan adds to empire. "You," Rachel whispered, "you're the Sarah Sullivan? The one everyone's been trying to meet? The revolutionary designer who's been buying up luxury brands?" The same sister you've been mocking for years, I confirmed. Funny how success looks different when you bother to look past appearances. The ballroom erupted in whispers as the fashion elite realized they'd been sharing space with the industry's most powerful figure. The same nobody they'd relegated to a back table at her own sister's wedding. Mother stepped forward shakily. All those missed family events were usually because I was in Paris or Milan running my empire. I checked my watch. Speaking of which, I have a board meeting in an hour. We need to discuss the restructuring of our newest acquisition. Rachel clutched her wedding dress, now a Sullivan Industries product. Restructuring. Don't worry, I assured her, gathering my things. I'll let you keep your little boutique label. Under proper management, of course. Consider it a wedding gift from your crafty sister. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud to be effective. Sometimes it just needs perfect timing and a carefully planned acquisition strategy. The wedding cake waited to be cut, but a different sort of slice had just been served. 1 month after the wedding, I sat in my actual office. The entire top floor of a Manhattan skyscraper, not the garage workshop my family had imagined. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a perfect view of Rachel's flagship store, now sporting the Sullivan Industries logo. Your morning briefing, Miss Sullivan. My executive assistant entered with a leather portfolio. The Milan facility reports the new textile line is exceeding expectations. Paris wants your approval on the haute couture collection. And your family has been persistent in their attempts to reach you. I smiled, reviewing the latest sales figures from Rachel's rebranded boutique. I imagine my sister is particularly eager to discuss her new position in the company. The walls displayed live feeds from our global operations. Factories in Italy, design studios in France, research facilities developing the next revolution in fashion technology. Each one part of the empire I'd built while they thought I was playing with a sewing machine. The Vogue interview team arrives at 11, my assistant continued. And Rachel's husband requested an urgent meeting about his role in the restructuring. How interesting, I mused, remembering his condescending offers to help with my little hobby. Schedule him for next week. In the main conference room. A gentle knock announced my head of acquisitions. Miss Sullivan, the board is ready for your presentation on the global expansion strategy. I stood, smoothing my custom-designed suit, the prototype for a line that would redefine power dressing. Perfect. Though first, I glanced at the security feeds. I believe my family has arrived for their scheduled tour. The lobby cameras showed my mother, Rachel, and several anxious relatives being escorted through security. Time to let them see exactly what their craft project sister had actually built. Bring them to the design floor, I instructed. Let them see what a real fashion empire looks like. The security feeds tracked their progress through my headquarters. Their expressions shifted from practiced condescension to shocked awe as they began to understand the true scope of Sullivan Industries. Rachel clutched her designer handbag, now my brand, like a shield. Mother's society jewelry seemed particularly costume-like amid the genuine luxury surrounding them. Miss Sullivan, a guard announced as I entered the main design floor. My family turned, finally seeing me in my true element. Welcome to my little sewing room, I said quietly, watching their faces as they took in the vast space. Though I suppose it's a bit larger than the garage you imagined. Rachel stared at the endless rows of designers, pattern makers, and textile engineers. This is where I actually work. Yes. I gestured to the advanced manufacturing equipment and innovative design technology. That simple sewing machine I mentioned? Actually a multi-million-dollar fabrication system. The craft supplies? Revolutionary textile compounds. The screens behind me displayed global sales data and market projections. A direct line to Milan blinked urgently. Excuse me, I said, pressing the intercom. Yes, start production on the new line. Full global distribution. My family watched in stunned silence as I casually directed an operation that would influence the entire fashion industry. Now, I turned back to them, shall we discuss what I really do with those little patterns you mocked? The tour was about to reveal more than they'd ever imagined about their crafty relative. The design floor buzzed with activity as top designers from Paris, Milan, and New York worked on collections worth millions. Rachel's eyes fixed on a familiar design, her wedding dress. That's, she whispered. The prototype for your dress? Yes. I led them past rows of sketches and mood boards. Though the final version was actually made here, not in the garage workshop you imagined. Mother touched a nearby fabric sample. This material, it's incredible. A Sullivan Industries exclusive, I confirmed. The cheap fabric you criticized at the wedding? A revolutionary textile that's about to transform the industry. Worth more per yard than most designer dresses. The screens above us displayed global marketing campaigns, each featuring designs I'd created while they thought I was playing dress-up. Your new clothing line, I nodded to Rachel, whose boutique label now operated under my empire, will be incorporating these materials. Once your designs meet our standards, of course. She flinched. The preliminary review of her collection had been brutal, especially coming from the sister she'd dismissed as amateur. Miss Sullivan, my head of innovation, approached. The sustainable fabric technology you developed is ready for patent filing. Projections show it will revolutionize eco-friendly fashion. Mother's hand flew to her throat. You developed the most significant advancement in textile engineering this decade? Yes. I signed the patent documents. Those silly experiments you mocked in my garage? Actually groundbreaking research that's about to make Sullivan Industries the leader in sustainable luxury fashion. We moved to the prototype floor where advanced manufacturing systems brought designs to life. Rachel's husband stood among the executives, looking notably uncomfortable in his new lower-ranking position. James, I acknowledged my brother-in-law coolly. How's the transition going? He tugged at his collar. It's enlightening. Amazing what you learn when you're not too busy dismissing someone as a hobbyist, I noted, approving a design that would generate millions. The tour continued through my empire. Research labs developing next-generation materials, marketing departments planning global campaigns, financial offices tracking the billions flowing through Sullivan Industries. The private jet leaves for Paris Fashion Week in an hour, my assistant reminded me. The front row has been arranged as requested. Rachel's face fell. She'd been trying to get front row seats for years. Your seats are in the third row, I told my family. Next to the influencers and minor celebrities. A step up from your usual standing room, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Mother found her voice. Why didn't you tell us? All these years. Would you have believed that your hobby seamstress daughter was actually running the largest fashion empire in the world? That the sister you pitted was revolutionizing the industry? That the simple patterns you mocked were worth millions? The screens showed more Sullivan Industries properties. Design houses in Paris, manufacturing facilities in Milan, research centers developing the future of fashion. Each one built while they thought I was playing with a sewing machine. Besides, I continued, watching you praise my designs in magazines while mocking my little hobby in person was rather illuminating. Amazing what people reveal when they think they're talking to someone unsuccessful. Rachel stared at an upcoming collection, designs that would make her entire boutique label look amateur. All those times we invited you to fashion events. I was usually hosting them, I finished. Under my real name, of course. Sarah Sullivan, not Sarah the craft hobbyist. The scope of their misjudgment was finally sinking in. Every dismissive comment, every condescending suggestion, every mockery of my little sewing project, had been directed at the most powerful person in fashion. The empire you once mocked, I said, motioning around us, now controls every part of the fashion industry, including your own boutique label. My family looked stunned as the design floor buzzed with innovation. I have a board meeting now, I added, checking my watch. We're discussing the future of several brands, including yours, Rachel. 6 months later, I stood on stage at New York Fashion Week accepting the Designer of the Year award, while my family watched from the third row. Innovation means seeing potential where others see limits, I said, receiving a standing ovation. Later, in my private suite, my team reviewed the schedule, Vogue interview, Met Gala planning, and VIP access for my family. Rachel would be seated beside new designers from my own mentorship program. My decisions now shaped global fashion, and they finally understood whose vision they had underestimated. I gathered my materials, each document representing more influence than my family's combined fashion aspirations could ever match. Ms. Sullivan, the head of security, announced. The industry leaders await. I stepped into the grand reception, where fashion royalty mingled with actual royalty. My family stood awkwardly in their Sullivan Industries garments, finally witnessing the true scope of their simple relative's influence. Sarah, mother approached, her jewelry looking particularly modest among the authentic luxury pieces. We never realized. That's rather the point, I replied, accepting congratulations from a famous designer. You never thought to look beyond your assumptions. Never considered that your hobby daughter might actually be revolutionizing the industry. Rachel watched as Vogue editors greeted me with respect. All those times we mocked your work, she whispered. I was busy meeting top fashion houses and building new technologies, I replied, signing a contract that would change global style. Those amateur designs you laughed at? They're worth more than your entire seasonal collection. My fashion idol waited patiently for my attention. The job you offered me in your boutique, I added, would have been a step down, considering I own most of the luxury fashion world. My creative officer approached. Miss Sullivan, Paris Fashion Week is ready for you. I turned to my family. Real success doesn't need constant praise. You never saw what I was actually building. Then I walked into the committee room to shape the future of fashion, leaving my family to finally realize how wrong they'd been all along.